companies have not caught up. So they've said don't use AI, but the AI is so useful for the staff members that they're just going ahead and using them anyway. 83% of legal teams are using AI tools and not provided by their company. So that is shadow AI. So this won't just be legal, this will be all industries, and it highlights the need for companies to work out what they are doing. And there's a huge demand for this right now. Good morning, everybody. The year is speeding past at a rapid clip, and we have more artificial intelligence news because don't we always? There's always something new happening, which keeps me very busy. And I'm glad that I'm able to help to distill to a certain extent and give some commentary on what's going on. And I hope it is useful. If you do find it useful, head over to the YouTube and subscribe. We're trying to build up our subscriber base there. We're about to hit 3,000 subs. It is slow going, but we are getting there. I'm hoping in a year's time I'll be able to look back and laugh at my 3,000 subscribers. But first we need to go through the hard part. But that is fine. That's what we do. And no problem at all. So I'm going to be covering the AI news for today. Quite a lot going on. Obviously, there's the ongoing GPT-5 saga with people not being happy with it. I'm starting to see a smaller, almost like a resistance of people who are coming forward and saying, actually, I quite like it. I think it's quite good. Ali Abdal, who's a YouTuber, an author, he put out a post on LinkedIn, I think it was yesterday, saying, hey, ChatGPT-5, I think it's great. I've been using it for loads of coding. And the comments on his post, which are normally quite civil, were just so vituperative, like just so much hate because he dared to say that he likes GPT-5. I'm going to say it too quietly. I quite like it. I like GPT-5. Yeah, nobody's really allowed to say that apparently, but there we go. I enjoy it. I think it's good. So Google are coming for OpenAI and ChatGPT. There was the image of the Death Star that Sam Altman put out before the release of GPT-5. Don't really know why. I think he might have been trying to say that he is the Rebel Alliance and he's coming for the bad people like Musk. I don't really know. But Google shot back, and one of their employees, someone at DeepMind, put out another tweet which showed a squadron of X-wing fighters heading towards the Death Star, so going to destroy Sam Altman's GPT-5. Considering the amount of public animosity towards GPT-5 right now, Google could become a bit of a public hero, and they're doing a few things that they're capitalizing. They are launching some new features this week. We are not getting a new Gemini 3 yet, but there's some rumors, some discussion that might be occurring. But I think they're capitalizing and getting some things out of the door this week so they can hopefully bring people over to Gemini. I know very few people who use Gemini over ChatGPT except in coding. So if they can pull this off, fantastic. First thing they have released, this was yesterday, or about 12 hours ago. Google's Gemini AI will get more personalized by remembering details automatically. So you no longer have to prompt Gemini in order for it to recall what you've discussed. They are adding persistent memory. Now, this is one of the killer features of ChatGPT. The more you use ChatGPT, the more it knows about you and the more it's able to reference that moving forward. For example, I've just ordered a new video encoder. I'm trying to increase the quality of my streams because by the time they get to YouTube, it's no longer 4K because it goes through so many different steps. So I chatted to ChatGPT and I said, hey, you know my setup, you know what I'm working with. What can I do to increase that quality? And because I'd had so many chats of it before about my camera, about the various switchers and encoders and all the bits and pieces, it already had all that information. So it was able to immediately say, oh, you need this capture card. Super easy. With the other AIs, because they don't have that persistent memory, you need to go through the rigmarole every single time of giving it all of that context, which takes a lot of time. So ChatGPT having this memory, this persistent memory, has been a really useful feature. What's really good about it from their point of view is that it locks you in because you use ChatGPT for 6 months, a year, remembers everything about you, it personalizes to that information. If you move over to a new AI, because maybe this week you were annoyed with ChatGPT, you are not going to have immediately such a good experience with that new AI because it doesn't have all that information implicit inside of the model. So I think ChatGPT having persistent memory is really smart from a lock-in, a stickiness point of view. We just heard yesterday that Claude are going to be adding it. However, Claude are way behind, and Claude's implementation is you need to specifically ask it to go and fetch information for you. So that's fine, but it requires the user to do something active. So that's not very sticky. Gemini had something similar where you could say to it, oh, remember this, and it would store it in its memory bank. Now they've upgraded it so it's going to be more like ChatGPT. So let's have a quick look. So Google is rolling out an update for Gemini that will allow the AI chatbot to remember your past conversations without prompting. With the setting turned on, Gemini will automatically recall the key details and preferences and use them to personalize its output. So yeah, it's going to keep track of what you've been talking about, basically. So it's basically the same thing as ChatGPT. I don't know why more models and more chatbots haven't added this in, because it's, I think, a killer usage. However, I know why Anthropic haven't. It's a privacy and security thing, and people get a bit freaked out when AI is remembering things about them. I think once they start to use the personalized memory, the persistent memory, they realize, oh, actually, this is really useful, and the convenience outweighs the fear. Until then, though, I think it's a bit scary. So when asked about the issue of delusional chats, Google spokesperson Elijah Lawal said Google is constantly trying to improve its safeguards. We're focusing on building a personal assistant. Gemini learning your preferences is key to you. Equally crucial is giving you easy controls to choose your experience that's best for you, so you can turn the feature on and off at any time, etc. So they're hedging their bets. They're making sure that you know this is safe and it's optional, but it's still going to be useful for you. So that's cool. I don't know whether this will be enough to bring people over to Gemini. The thing is, when you release an AI, it's not enough for it to be as good as ChatGPT. It needs to be much, much, much better. Or this week, GPT needs to make such a blunder that people are angry with it, even if it's irrational anger, and they go off and try something else. It's not sufficient just to make an AI that's just as good as ChatGPT. And I think this is the problem Grok had. Grok is pretty good. It's not a bad model. It tends to be very polarized, people on one side or the other, people who hate it or people who love it and adore it above everything else. The reality of it is it's okay. It's fine. It's pretty good. It's maybe just as good as ChatGPT 4.0, maybe, but that's insufficient to draw people away from ChatGPT, because you have 700 million people who are already using ChatGPT daily, and it's really hard to pull away from that stickiness. So Gemini adding persistent memory is great. Is it enough to bring people to leave ChatGPT over to Gemini? No, I don't think so. It won't be. They've also added, and this is very niche, but the rate limits for DeepThink, which is their really high-end research and thinking model, have doubled. So previously you got very few, and this is on the top plan as well. So those have doubled. I think this is very niche though, because I think this is it's not even in their pro plan, it's in the $200 or $250 plan. So for the people who are paying that, fantastic. They've got a double. I think this is a niche of a niche though. So it's nice to see Gemini shipping. I don't think any of these are going to have a huge impact and bring people away from ChatGPT, which is a shame, because they could have used the anger this week to just go hard and do an offensive and try to pull people away. And I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to hop over to questions, and then I'm going to talk about the ChatGPT film, which started filming about 2 weeks ago. Have you heard of Icons 8? I need an image upscaler for commercial use. I'm not sure of its credibility. I have not. Check out Magnific. Never said it out loud. Magnific. It's like Magnifique, but like Magnific. Magnific AI, the magic image upscaler and enhancer. I would check that out. I don't know of Icons 8, but they might be similar. But my go-to for this would be Magnific. You need to use it for commercial use. I think you can. You'd have to check the terms and conditions. You can also reach out to the founder. It's a guy called Javi Lopez. He's very active on Twitter, so I'm sure you could just shoot him a message. Just trying to see if it's commercial, but I'm not seeing that answer for you. So have a look at Magnific. Daniel says, if it remembers too much, it might be like a girlfriend, lol. So yeah, persistent memory is a fascinating one because it remembers everything about you. I don't know if anyone ever played those Telltale games. They had a Walking Dead Telltale game, and it was a meme for years in gaming of like Clementine will remember that. Whenever you did something bad or good, but mainly bad, the game would have this ominous message, which was, this person will remember that. And ChatGPT is the same. It will remember everything significant about you. Generally, you get a little message in ChatGPT that says updating memory. That means it's storing that information into its memory banks. We will move to a point where the context window of these models will become so large that it will basically have access to all of our chats at the same time. That would take years, but that's where we're going eventually. We talk about context windows and how much memory the AI has right now because our models still are very limited. As we expand the models, as we expand storage, make them more efficient, that will become basically infinite for all intents and purposes. So it's like right now, we're in the floppy disk era of generative AI. We're fiddling around with floppy disks. Maybe there'll be an upgrade to CD-ROM, but eventually we won't really need to worry about these things. And at that point, our AIs will remember everything. They'll have all of our chats. So yeah, they will be perfect memory at some point. Maybe like your girlfriend, yeah. So the next, yeah, I want to talk about this ChatGPT film, which I think is very early. This is so there's a film. Andrew Garfield is playing Sam Altman. It's worth looking up the pictures. He looks like quite cool, Sam Altman. I'm disappointed they didn't go for the double polo look. If you've seen the double polo look, it's fantastic. Sam Altman gave a talk back in, I think, 2008, roughly, and he was wearing two polo shirts, and it was a look. His fashion's much better now. But Andrew Garfield is going to be playing Sam Altman. Interestingly, he also played Eduardo Severin in the Social Network film, which is also getting the sequel. So we're getting lots of films about billionaires, basically. So I looked up this film. It's called Artificial. It's an upcoming film. It portrays the controversial 2023 firing and rehiring of OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. So recent. It just seemed like a wild thing to make a film about. It is a biographical comedy drama film. So yeah, I felt it was a bit weird when they made The Social Network and also the Steve Jobs movies. It felt a bit like, these, they're still around. It just felt a bit odd, but this is even more recent. This was only a couple of years ago. So here we got Andrew Garfield as Sam Altman, Monica Barbaro, I don't know her, as Mira Murati, Ike Barinholtz as Elon Musk. Okay, that would be fun. Okay, it is a comedy film. Yura Borisov as Ilya Sutskiva. Okay, he looks like Ilya. He really does. Okay, cool. Cooper Hoffman as Greg Brockman. That is Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. Jason Schwartzman. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely going to be a comedy film. Budget of 40 million. It's been made by Amazon. Now that's interesting. So it's a billionaire has greenlit a movie about some other billionaires. So it began filming 2 weeks ago in San Francisco. So yeah, keep an eye out on that. Don't know whether it would be any good, but I will certainly be watching it. Maybe we can do like a watch along live. That would be fun. Ooh, that's a big question. I've got a good question here. How do you think about AI affecting the job market? Whew. This is one of the big, if not the biggest questions we need to tackle with right now. I've talked about this before. I come somewhere in the middle. So this is the same for most of my opinions. I'm a moderate in most things. So there are some people who are saying it's going to decimate all jobs and we're going to be out on the streets in 5 years. So we need to work out universal basic income or some kind of solution ASAP because we're going to be jobless in a couple of years. There are other people who says, no, AI is rubbish. It won't be able to do anything. It's never going to take any real jobs. Then there are additional arguments like, oh, AI is going to create as many jobs as it destroys. Don't think so. Where I feel or where I land on it is I think it's going to be a slower process than we currently think it is. I think the way it's going to happen, especially for the next couple of years, is not going to be AI directly getting individuals fired. So let's say Barbara works in accounting. I don't think Barbara is going to lose her job to AI specifically. I think what's going to happen instead is we will have an erosion at the bottom of the job market. So at the bottom of each company, you have entry level people. That's the same for an industry. So if you have the advisory industry, for example, or the consulting industry, you have a pyramid with entry level at the bottom, kind of managers in the middle here, and then leaders at the top. So they're all pyramidal shape with the people above using the people below to get work done. That's how they're structured. I think what we're going to see is the bottom of that pyramid being eroded because companies, and then as a whole, industries, and then as a whole, the entire economy needs less people at those entry level positions. So we're already seeing this in advisory and consulting companies, for example. Their intakes of their graduate programs are shrinking because less people can now do more work using AI. So this isn't jobs, this isn't people being fired directly by AI, it's just less jobs being created. And the US Department of Statistics, I think it's called, they released some job creation numbers last month, and only 73,000 jobs have been created instead of the, I think, normal 150,000 or so that they get per month. It was so low that the head of the Department of Statistics was actually fired. Trump said that she'd given political numbers and got rid of her. He didn't see the irony in that, apparently. He was saying that the statistics should not be political before promptly firing the head of statistics. Anyway, I won't get into that. So I think we're going to see this more insidious, this more subtle economic change where the entry-level jobs will just be kicked out from underneath. So if you're thinking about your job, this is great from like a macro level, an economic level, a societal level. Sure, we can think of it in this way, but most people are thinking about themselves. So if you are, let's say, in your 50s and you are lining up on retirement, you're probably going to be fine. I don't think AI is going to get to your level of the organization within that time. And there's going to be a lot of institutional kind of friction. There will be labor tribunals, there's going to be unions, depending on your industry, obviously, and also just conservatism. It's going to take a while for it to get to the top levels. So if you are high up in an organization, you're probably fine. The problem with this is that this means that a lot of executives, and I talked to quite a few in the kind of C-suite, their risks and their rewards with AI are misaligned, because for them, they want to use AI to cut costs as much as possible so that they can have a cushy retirement in the next couple of years. They don't particularly care about the longer term, what's going to be going on with that company or that industry in 15 years or so, because they're going to be retired at that point. So they don't particularly care, but they're the ones who are making decisions about whether or not to use AI. So I think the people who are going to get screwed are the ones at the bottom, the people who are going into work now and the people who are at college or university now who are going to be coming out into the work market in the next couple of years. They're the people for whom it's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough few years. If you are in a job, if you are high up in a job, you're probably going to be okay. It's going to take a while before AI starts to come for those jobs directly. It's going to be the people who are not yet in jobs or are looking for jobs right now. That's going to be the really hard part. So I think how AI is going to affect work depends on where you are and who you are, depends on your industry, because artificial intelligence is jagged. Its advances are not the same in all areas. It's really good at some things, but really bad at other things. If you work in a physical industry, you'll also have some protection because robotics is behind currently. Robotics hasn't had its, well, I just achieved some kind of goal. Thank you, TikTok, for making lots of noise. Robotics hasn't had its ChatGPT moment yet. It probably will in the next couple of years. If you work in a industry that is non-algorithmic, so it can't be broken down into repetitive steps, you're probably safer. So something like nursing, for example, is a great example here. When you go to work, you don't know what you're going to be facing on a daily basis, and you need to be able to adapt, and that comes from experience. All of that experience is hard to, currently, it's difficult to get into an artificial intelligence. And then the final one is empathy. So there will still be room, at least initially, for roles that require human empathy. So caring professions in particular. Again, just because it's going to take a while for AI to catch up on those. And that was a very long, winding answer to the question of how do you think it's affecting the job market? I think it is. I don't think that AI will create as many jobs as it gets rid of. But how that affects you depends on where you are in the market right now. If you're already in it, or if you're looking at retirement in 10 years or so, you're probably fine. If you are entering the market now, I'd be more worried. I gave this kind of exact spiel the other day, and it was to a group. It was a group at Google, and loads of them were university students. They're like 18, 19. And it's like, oh, uh-oh. It's also a question. So I have cousins, and they are, how old are they? 16, 17. And that's a question their parents ask me is, what should they be studying? What should they be doing? And this is a big question right now, not one that I have the answers to. There are people who focus in this area, kind of education, AI, and younger people. For me, my answer would be start something on the side, start a business. It doesn't really matter what it is, just start learning how to make your own money, because we cannot rely on a 9 to 5 job being secure any longer. So absolutely, go to college, go to university, get a job, but on the side, you need to have other things going on, because if that job ceases to exist in the next 5 to 10 years, you at least would have been building something. It could be social media, it could be a SaaS business, it could be a service business where you help people. It doesn't really matter, as long as you are building something and learning the skill of working for yourself and learning how to build a business. That's going to put you in a better position for whatever happens, because we do not know what's going to happen. We just know something will happen, but a lot of very intelligent people, much smarter than me, are still debating this because we don't know. We have no idea. So what you can do is you can prepare yourself for that uncertainty by having multiple sources of income, by having many strings to your bow, by having lots of skills. Like, the more of that you have, the more flexible you will be moving forward. Okay, next piece of, talking about Trump, because I just mentioned him very briefly. So he has a new AI search engine. And the interesting thing here is not that he has an AI search engine, it's more who built it with him. He partnered with Perplexity, which is interesting. Perplexity have been out of the news cycle for the last 6 months or so. For those of you, some of you may not have ever heard of Perplexity. Perplexity is it's basically an AI search engine that sits on top of other AIs. They do have their own AI called Sonar, but it was really great about a year ago when ChatGPT and Claude, etc., didn't give us sources. They would just give us an answer and we'd just have to accept it. And sometimes it'd be hallucinated, sometimes it'd be right, and we didn't really know. That was a couple of years ago. Perplexity came out with this, basically an AI powered search engine that would find sources for the answers. So it'd give you an answer using AI, using a large language model, but it would all be sourced and with additional context from websites. Now, Claude and ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, all of them basically do that web search functionality as well. So Perplexity, I think, became less valuable as a result. But Perplexity have helped Donald Trump build Truth. I think it's called Truth Search. Just trying to find a picture of it. I haven't actually been able to find it or use it. Truth Search AI, a new platform-based answer bot built by Perplexity's Sonar API. Okay, I'm not sure if it's actually partnered then in that case. It was launched by Trump Media and Technology Group to increase the amount of information available to users and offer direct, contextually accurate answers with transparent citations. I thought a president wasn't allowed to have businesses. I guess that's the least of America's worries. Sorry, my American friends. He can have a business if he wants, that's fine. Despite the commitment to the broader information environment, Perplexity representatives explained the search tool's sources could be customized by its overseers, known as source selection. Yeah, that's normal. In early tests by Axios, Truth Search AI's answers appeared to be limited to sourcing from traditionally conservative outlets, including Fox News and Fox Business, compared to Perplexity's standard engine. Okay, so I don't think this is a really big deal. They've built something on the Perplexity API. They've chosen their sources, and the sources they've chosen are more politically conservative. So news outlets are more likely to agree. But apparently, the Washington Post did an analysis. Let's see if I can get this without hitting a paywall. No, I can't. Apparently, the Washington Post found that the AI tool repeatedly countered claims made by the president rather than reaffirming statements. Okay, cool. Good job, Perplexity and the model. Good job, Sonar. This is funny. This happened to Elon Musk the other day. So he's in a spat right now with Sam Altman. It's getting quite nasty. Like, it's two billionaires arguing, and it started talking about discoverability on the App Store versus control of the Twitter algorithm, etc. It started relatively professional. It's become nasty, and Musk made reference to Sam Altman's sister, who, I don't want to go into it, but basically accused Sam Altman of sexual assault when they were children. So it's Musk brought that up, and it's all become extremely unpleasant. But Grok entered the chat. Somebody called on Grok inside Twitter, and Grok called out Elon Musk and said, "No, that's not correct." So Elon Musk's own chatbot basically called him out. So even when you try and bias your own chatbots, as Trump and Trump's team are probably trying to do with their Perplexity-based search engine, the AI will still call you out. It's very hard to override the the kind of impartiality that's built into these models. So I think this is interesting, this Truth Social new AI search, but I don't think it actually says anything about Perplexity, because I saw people on Reddit and Twitter who were saying, "Oh my God, Perplexity are working with Trump." No, that I don't think that's fair. So the platform was built using the Sonar API. That's all. So anyone can sign up for an API key. Like you can go to a website, get the API key, pay for the API, and then you can build on it. Obviously, there were going to be terms and conditions. You can't build things that are truly hateful, but for Perplexity to shut this down based on political reasons would also be extremely problematic. So I don't think Perplexity have done anything wrong here, even if what they've built is a bit gross. I think Perplexity are in the right here. Funnily enough, though, he has built, or Trump, I saw a quote he was saying that they're building their own AI, which they're not, they're just using Perplexity, but in order to get round like big tech and its corrupting influence. But Perplexity's own, it's got huge shares in it from Amazon. I think the guy who ran GitHub, who recently left, etc. Like it's still big tech. This is not a small, scrappy indie company. I'm going to switch over to some questions. Perplexity has Comet. Have you seen it yet? Yeah, it's great. Comet is really good. So I have it. So there are a couple of AI-based browsers, AI enabled. I don't know what terminology they're using. There's Comet and there's DIA, DIA. They're really good. I don't know if they're Chrome beaters yet, but they are a glimpse into what the future looks like. I imagine Chrome and Firefox and I guess Edge, if people still use Edge. Apparently, the main thing people use Edge for is to search for Google to download it on their new computer, which is a bit sad. I think Comet is where those browsers would go in the future. I don't know if Perplexity will be able to pull it off and become a new browser. We had a browser war back in I guess it was the 90s, 2000s. People like Netscape. I think we're past those browser wars now, and Chrome has such a dominant hold. Chrome has 3.5 billion users, so almost half of the world's population use Chrome. So they've done very well with it. Funnily enough, Perplexity actually put in a bid to buy Chrome the other day. I mentioned this on the live yesterday. Perplexity are valued at 18 billion valuation, not cash, so valuation. But they've put in a $35 billion bid for Chrome. They want to buy it off Google, which sounds mad. I mean, it is mad, but Google are currently going through antitrust troubles. They always are. But potentially one of the fixes to the antitrust issues is to spin off Chrome, which would be a big blow for Google, but it means there are going to be companies like Perplexity who are waiting on the wings to try and grab it. I don't think Perplexity are going to be the ones. I think Perplexity mainly put in a bid, an unsolicited bid for 35 billion in order to get into the news headlines so that people would see Comet. Because when they're in the news, because of their bid for Google, people click on it and they're like, oh, who's Perplexity? Oh, they've got their own browser. Let's check that out. And it leads to new downloads of Comet, because Comet has about 15 million users at the moment, which is a lot, but it's tiny compared to 3.5 billion. Obviously, Chrome is a behemoth. So if you can get Comet, definitely try it out. Do they still have a wait list? Comet browser at the speed of thought, get Comet. Oh, I can't see the wait list. If anyone is interested, get on the wait list, and I'm sure you'll have it soon. Or if you pay for Perplexity Max, you get it immediately. But I assume if you have Perplexity Max, you're already using it. Let's be honest. To what degree is AI a really great plagiarism software? Discuss. This gets to the root of creativity as a whole and creation, which these are big topics. I think everything that is fed into artificial intelligence is something that humans have created so far. We are starting to feed it with synthetic data, but arguably that synthetic data is built off the back of human created information as well. The thing is, when we think about human creativity in the long kind of span of everything, say in science, for example, everything is built upon what came before. We study what other humans have done, and then we make the next logical leap. Same in literature, same in art. We are always building upon that corpus. There's that idea of standing on the shoulders of giants. AI is doing the same thing. It's just doing it at such a scale that it seems egregious. So if a human being was to copy the portraits of the grandmasters again and again to increase their skill, we wouldn't see that as plagiarism. We'd see that as learning and getting better at the skill. And then when they create something that is on a par or even better than the grandmasters, we'd be like, okay, you are the new grandmaster. So I think AI is doing something similar, but it is entirely built on that human effort. It's just the scale at which it's doing it and the fact that it is not a human, it is a system. It's a probability system, basically, makes it seem a lot more gross than if it was a human being doing this. So I think it is plagiarism, but I also think that a lot of human creativity is plagiarism. I think there's very little that's new under the sun, and we are always just remixing and building on what has come before. It's very hard for us to make gigantic leaps. And when people do make huge, gigantic leaps, that is recognized as genius, but it's incredibly rare. The majority of the creativity that we have as humans is just what we have learned, our experiences, additional context, all the other creators have come before us, and then we just build on that because we learn from them and then we build slightly. And over time, it accretes and it leads to progress. I think AI is basically the next step in that, and it's just doing it at a just much faster, just a huge scale compared to an individual. Will they be able to create right-wing biased AI? So Grok is the closest. Let me pull up the political compass. This is a really interesting question because if we look up, okay, if you go to tracking AI, trackingai.org/political test. Now, this is not a perfect test, but it gets us in the right direction. You can see both the economic and the social leanings of the different models. Basically, they run it through a questionnaire and the AI will answer questions in this questionnaire and it uses it to plot them on this axis. All of them, without doubt, apparently, without exception, sorry, are left-leaning both in terms of social issues and economically. So economic left and social libertarianism. Let's see, who's the most right-wing? The most right-wing apparently is Gemma 3. I did not expect that as a smaller model from Google. I'm very surprised about that. That said, it's still within the left wing. It's just close to the middle of this quadrant, interestingly. But Grok, even Grok, which is meant to be maximally truth-seeking, it's meant to be entirely neutral, which is impossible, it's nonsense, is heavily left-leaning. I think in part this is to do with the content that we give them. So we're giving them the internet, and this would suggest that the internet and books and the human corpus of human knowledge, so Wikipedia, etc., has a left lean to it. Whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's based on your political leanings entirely. But that seems to suggest that the content we are putting in has a left-leaning focus, which maybe just humanity and the people who create and write are left-leaning. And maybe that shouldn't be the left, that should be the center, because that is where the majority of humans are. But that's another discussion. So to make something that is more neutral, you actually have to add in more right-wing. You have to add in more representation of what the majority would call right-wing. So Grok tried to do that, and we led to things like it calling itself Mecha Hitler and doing all sorts of crazy things. Trump in the AI, what's it called? The AI plan. He wants a truly neutral model. That is basically a pipe dream. It cannot happen because one, we don't really have a good definition of what that is, because Trump's definition of a truly neutral model is going to be very different to the Prime Minister of Sweden's definition of a truly neutral model. We just don't have that, doesn't exist. And then two, it's going to depend on what content we give it. And as we can see right now, one of our largest corpus of data is the internet. And the internet seems to have a left, social libertarian and economic left leaning. So unless we go out of our way to really nudge it to the right, and it's hard to get to this kind of neutrality, and it's even more difficult to make it a right-wing model. You can absolutely do it. It's just going to be, it's never going to be as valuable as the other frontier models because you won't be able to feed in as much information. You won't be able to give it as much data. And the race right now is just to give our AIs as much data as possible. It's a brute force method because we've found that the more data you give and the more information you put into these models, the more emergent properties happen. They just seem to get smarter. People don't really know why, but they aren't bothering to question that because it doesn't really matter. Functionally, you just build bigger and bigger models and you add more and more information and they get better. And they're going to continue doing that for a while, we think. So that is the only game in town at the moment. And people aren't really worried about why that happens. It's just the fact that it does happen. So if you wanted a model that was fully right wing, you'd only be able to feed in the right wing content. And that's going to decrease the amount of information you can put into it. And you're going to end up with a less intelligent model than a model where you throw everything at it, because size does matter in this particular case. So yeah, it's entirely possible and it could be done. None of the models right now are right wing. They are staunchly left wing, which probably says more about the training data, which says more about humanity than it does the AIs themselves, because these are reflections of humanity. Like that question about, is AI or plagiarism? Yeah, because it's based on what we have created. And what we have created apparently is something that is leaning economic left and social libertarian. So maybe that should be considered the center. Live electronic music is pre-recorded most of the time. We don't care. Yeah, when you see those videos of people just pressing buttons, I think there is, so you see this backlash with AI videos in particular, where I saw a video which was doing really well, and people, the early comments were all like, "Oh, I love this. This is great. Haha, it's so funny." And then I think there must have been a comment where somebody said, "You guys do know this is AI, right?" And it trended, and that was at the top. And then all the subsequent comments were like, "Oh, I can get this AI trash out of it." So as long as people didn't know that it was AI, they were happy to engage with it, and they were happy to be entertained and laugh at the video. The moment they knew about how it was created, it became something gross and they absolutely hated it. So that's an emotional reaction based on their beliefs about artificial intelligence. That's got nothing to do with the inherent quality or creation, the inherent thing, the video that they just watched. That's entirely to do with them. It's a reflection of themselves. And I think, so Alias is saying live electronic music is pre-recorded most of the time. We don't care. We'll probably get to that kind of stage with AI creation. So right now you can go to an electronic music gig. I'm showing how old and uncool I am. A rave. There we go. And you will just have a good time. You're not sitting there wondering, oh, how did you create these beats? Are you doing this manually, or is this pre-recorded? You don't care. You just go and enjoy the rave. I think we're going to get to a point with AI content as well, where we will stop caring as much about where it came from. There is, of course, going to be a backlash. There will be people who want like farm to table food. There's always going to be a small niche of people who want original, they want handcrafted, they want organic. That will become a luxury market, which will continue to exist, absolutely, but it's going to be relatively small compared to the mass market, where AI generated content will become the norm, for better or worse. Okay, there was a couple of articles, and they're not really connected, but I thought they're useful to explore, because critical faculty and knowing what is worthwhile information, it seems to be a skill a lot of people online have been missing. So I read Reddit, I read Twitter, and a lot of time people will see a headline like AI eroded doctors' ability to spot cancer within months in study. And that's all they'll read. And they'll read that headline and be like, oh my God, AI is making doctors stupid and we're going to get more cancer deaths. So AI eroded doctors' ability to spot cancer within months. So artificial intelligence, touted for its potential to transform medicine, led to some doctors losing skills after just a few months in a new study. So it sounds scary. You read the first few paragraphs like, oh my God, our doctors are becoming idiots because of AI. And then we scroll down and we need to look. We always have to look at these things. Okay, the study. Tell me when this sounds wrong to you. The 19 doctors in the study, bing, bing. The 19 doctors in the study were highly experienced, having performed more than 2,000 colonoscopies each. The effect on trainees or novices may be starker. Okay, that's speculation. So this study was conducted at MIT. Oh no, sorry, this wasn't. This was 4 endoscopy centers in Poland. Okay, this was a study with 19 doctors. That is not a study. That is at best a survey, not even a very good survey with 19. So we need to read articles, like we need to see what's going on, and having some kind of critical faculty is incredibly important in the time of AI, because there are people on both sides, people who are extremely pro AI and there are people who are extremely anti AI, and they will just use any information they can get their hands on to make their point. And that means that we, as smart people in the middle, we need to actually read what's happening and use our critical faculties. And increasingly, that is not happening. So on the Reddit thread for this particular article, everyone was just going on about how their doctor, they've noticed also that their doctor's a bit more thick and not paying attention. That's what are you talking about? That's anecdotal. That's got nothing to do with it. This is a flawed study. This is 19 doctors. This means nothing. That is not a representative survey sample size. So we just need to be careful, because this was one of two. So I saw a second one, and again, this was being used to basically kick down artificial intelligence. So this is generative AI experiences, rapid adoption, but with mixed outcomes. Fair. Highlights from Vote AI and machine learning. So another study. So the big one was, where is it? Here we go. Project. This is in businesses, and this is who are deploying artificial intelligences. Lots of projects are being launched. Not all of them are successful. So project failure rates appear to be elevated as organizations attempt to deliver generative AI projects at pace. The percentage of companies abandoning the majority of their AI initiatives before they reach production has surged from 17% to 42% year over year, with organizations on average reporting that 46% of projects are scrapped. 46% of projects are scrapped between proof of concept and broad adoption. So this sentence, 46% of projects were scrapped between proof of concept and broad adoption, so in their planning stages, building out MVPs, etc., was used to say, okay, AI is broken and it's overhyped and businesses aren't using it and the whole thing is going to be coming crashing down. These were the kind of logical steps from it that I was seeing in the comments. The thing about AI is it allows us to test a lot of things very quickly. You can build a prototype in a few hours for a tool that you want to build for your organization. Is that going to work? Is it going to be taken to production? Is it going to be rolled out? No, probably not. But it doesn't matter, because you can build so quickly. You can prototype using vibe coding in 5 minutes, and then you can spend a day or two kind of tightening up and making a presentable demo. So the speed at which we can test out new ideas has increased, for me, probably tenfold. Like, I'm building tools every single day. So that means not all of these projects are going to make it through, but it doesn't matter, because we have rapid prototyping in place now. We have the ability to stay extremely lean, try out projects, and then kill them off. We scrap them before they get to production because they don't work. That is much healthier than doing a smaller number of projects and then carrying them through, even if they don't really work. It's much better to do small, scrappy projects and realize, no, this isn't going to work. Oh, we wasted a week. Doesn't really matter. Move on. Also, 46% of projects are scrapped between proofs of concept and broad adoption. That means that 54% are not. 54% went through. That's pretty good. That's a lot of projects going through using artificial intelligence. I'm surprised it's not lower. I would have assumed far fewer successful projects coming out of AI because of the ability to rapidly prototype. Again, this is about critical faculty and literacy with statistics and being able to think through things without allowing our emotional reaction to the headlines to get in the way. I know it's difficult. I can see it's difficult from social media, but we need to be really careful with this kind of stuff, because this is just two examples that I saw this morning, literally lying in bed, that I was able to see the Reddit thread and realize immediately, no, something's not right here. We need to have that kind of same critical faculty whenever we are analyzing anything to do with AI and in general life as a whole. Bo is saying GPT-5 was underwhelming. Would you agree, Kyle? No, I quite like it. I think it's a good model, especially in the thinking mode. I think very few people are saying that they like it, and when they do, they get dogpiled. I'm sure when this gets clipped out into a video and gets put on TikTok or Instagram, I'll have a lot of people tell me why I'm wrong. But no, I think it's pretty good. I think it's good for coding too. They've also had a free, you could use it in Cursor for free for a period. So I've been using it for the last few days, and it's solid. Not as good as Claude Code, I would say, for coding, but pretty good. It's also cheap. I'd have to actually weigh up usage versus cost, which I haven't been doing yet because it's been free so far. But in general, I think it's good. I think the problem has been with the routing or the routing. So they have 4 different models under the hood. It's like a bunch of kids in a trench coat, basically. And you can either get sent to GPT-5 high, medium, low, or minimal. And there's not much transparency about which one you get sent to. However, you can override that by switching it into GPT-5 thinking mode, and that's always going to put you into the higher models. It does take longer to deliver results, but you get better results from it. and it stops you from getting put into low or minimal, which are truly terrible. So I think the main problem is that a lot of people are getting sent to the crap models and thinking that is the whole experience with GPT-5, when in fact there's actually a really high-end model. It's just your question hasn't been sent there, which is incredibly frustrating. And that is a ChatGPT problem. They need to fix that because that's causing chaos. But when using the actual state-of-the-art model, I think it's good. I think it's a pretty solid model for coding and for general use. Plus the fact that it has my persistent memory means I'm using it more and more. Claude used to be my main model for absolutely everything. But again, the persistent memory in ChatGPT, the fact it knows everything about me, it's swinging me. It's bringing me back to ChatGPT. But I think we just use whatever the best tool is for the job at the time. Lots of people get very emotionally attached to their AI model and forget that it's a tool. So if Claude's better for one job, use Claude. If Gemini is better, use Gemini. Like, we have access to all these things. I know they're not free, but $20 a month for access to this, it's the best $20 a month you can possibly spend on anything, basically, because of the amount of additional intelligence and leverage you can get from these models. So I think it's good. I think GPT-5 is a good model. I think their rollout and the way they've dealt with the public over the last few days has been rough. I also think that the 700 million users who use ChatGPT on a daily basis, who aren't watching lives, watching social media, reading newsletters about AI, I'm sure they're happy with it. People I've talked to who are outside of our circle are perfectly happy with it. It seems smart to them. They don't care. So I think ChatGPT will be fine. What was the other one? So China is still, here we go. Some water. Where's my water? There it is. So the Chinese chip debacle is continuing. Right, where are we? So NVIDIA makes H200 chips, which are like the general workhorse of training large language models. To train a large language model, you need a ton of these H200 chips. So NVIDIA has used that to basically become the most valuable company on Earth by market capitalization, worth market cap of $4 trillion, which is the first $4 trillion company. So NVIDIA have been blocked from selling to China for the last couple of years. What they have created is something called an H20, which is a stripped down version of the H200. It's about 30 to 40% of the capacity, and it cannot be chained together quite as easily. So they've created this as a compromise to allow them to enter the Chinese market. So now the Chinese government has told companies, AI companies in China, that they should not purchase H20 chips. So this is, again, a pushback against Trump. And this is part of the tariff wars. So Trump has allowed the H20 chips to be sold in China, but only if NVIDIA give him directly, the US government, 15% of their revenue from selling H20 chips, which is pretty unprecedented. That's basically extortion, and NVIDIA have agreed to pay directly to the government. And we don't know where that money's going, but it's Trump's to use how he wants by the looks of it. So now Trump wants the H20 chips to be sold to China. He's removing the tariff. He's allowing them to be put in place. So the Chinese government retaliated by saying, we don't want them. We don't want our companies to be using the H20 chips. They have not banned them. I've seen some talk and comments from people saying China has banned the chips. This is all misinformation, etc., etc. No, they have. Here we go. They've explained their reasons and concerns about information risks, which makes sense. Don't put these American-built chips in our government servers. It could be a risk, maybe. So they are basically saying we would prefer if you do not use these H20 chips, which is going to screw Trump. But also they want to focus on domestic production. So the long game for China here is they need to become less dependent on NVIDIA chips, and Huawei is probably the leader in terms of who they're going to turn to. However, we just have had some news about DeepSeek's next AI model has been delayed because they're trying to build it on Chinese chips. So because they haven't had the NVIDIA chips, they have not been able to roll out the next update of DeepSeek. The previous one was built on NVIDIA that had been snuck in. They weren't meant to have those chips. So nobody's quite sure how many chips they had. It's still speculative, but it was built on NVIDIA. Whereas this new DeepSeek model is trained on Huawei's, but it is delayed. So they have failed to train it using Huawei's chips, apparently. Because it's been a long time. R1, the last big update from DeepSeek, was January. So the issues were the main reason the model's launch was delayed from May. So they were meant to release a new model in May, and it has not appeared. So apparently, this is all from internal sources who are non-disclosed. Apparently, this is because the Huawei chips are not good enough yet. So this is the long-term plan for China. They need to get their chip manufacture, their GPU manufacture, up to scratch with NVIDIA. Going to be tricky. NVIDIA's been doing this for decades, but if they can do, they will claim the semiconductor and the chipset market, and that's going to be a great place for them to be in. But until then, risky, and they need access to NVIDIA. There's some kind of argument happening. No, you can argue. I don't mind. I'm not sure what you're arguing about. Sean says Grok got banned, right? What did Grok get banned on? I don't think Grok's banned. In China, or because I think all the models are banned in China, apart from DeepSeek. I was just over in Beijing a couple of months ago and just used DeepSeek, which is a really good model, really good. But the Western AIs are all banned in China. Or do you mean banned in the West? Because Grok isn't banned. Cool. So that was the main... Oh, no, got one more. I've still got a few minutes. So there's something called Shadow IT, which if you've come to one of my webinars, you've heard me talk about. I've actually got a webinar this Thursday, by the way. Oh, sorry, this Thursday. That's today. I've got a webinar this evening at 6 p.m. London time, if you do fancy coming. But Shadow IT is a concept where employees within an organization begin to use their own IT systems without being told they can use it by the IT department and the leadership of the company. And it's a real problem with artificial intelligence. So generally when an IT team says, hey, we're going to give you a new AI system, normally the response from staff members is, oh God, because it means more mandatory training, another password they need to remember, some new system they're probably never going to use, etc. Normally it's annoying. That is the complete opposite with artificial intelligence. What's happened is staff members have used AI at home, have used it personally, and they've realized, wow, this is really good. And they've started to bring it to work themselves without necessarily the company or the IT department okaying it. So that's something called Shadow IT. So this is an article from corporatecomplianceinsights.com. It's an exciting website talking about specifically BYO LLM, bring your own large language model. So apparently it's a huge issue, according to a survey conducted by Axiom Law involving 300 in-house counsel companies with revenues over 50 million. This is a survey of law companies, and it highlighted a notable gap between AI adoption and governance in legal departments. The finding says that 83%, that's a lot, of legal teams are using AI tools that were not provided by their company, and 81% acknowledge using tools that have not been formally approved. Additionally, 47% of respondents reported having no policies in place to guide AI use, and 46 of those without AI training are using these tools to draft legal contracts. Ooh, this is messy. This is really messy. This is because staff members have realized, hey, AI is really useful and it can help me do my job much faster. And the companies have not caught up. So they've probably said, don't use AI, but the AI is so useful for the staff members that they're just going ahead and using them anyway. 83% of legal teams are using AI tools and not provided by their company. So that is Shadow AI. So this won't just be legal. This will be all industries, and it highlights the need for companies to work out what they are doing. And there's a huge demand for this right now. So I go and give workshops to companies and to staff members to help them overcome this. And so I personally get paid between $1,500 and $4,000 per hour to go and teach. And I help other people to go and teach my materials as well. And this is one of the big reasons why companies are willing to pay so much money, because they need their staff members trained. They need their executive team briefed on what do they need to do with artificial intelligence, because the risk of shadow IT, the risk of 83% of your legal team using AI without authorization, is so huge that these companies are in a blind panic and they're willing to pay for this training. So I now help other people go and train companies. I license out my workshop material and I show them how to approach companies, give them one-pagers for pitching, etc. Show them outreach methodology in order to find companies. But the really important thing is you need to go and teach companies in an industry that you're already in. So if you're in the legal profession and you hear this number, that 83% of legal teams are using AI tools that were not provided by their company. If you're in the legal industry, so you have that background in this industry, and you know about artificial intelligence because you're watching a live stream like this, more than 99% of the people out there, if you can combine these two, then you can do very well giving workshops, advice, consultation, education, etc. Because the key comes from that combination. There are plenty of companies who give generic AI training. Fine. McKinsey and KPMG and all of those, they give generic stuff. That's absolutely fine. But what you bring to the table as an individual who has experience in a particular industry is the ability to speak the language of the people in the room, to explain why AI is important to them specifically, to cut through all the technical stuff and be like, okay, this is why you as a lawyer need to be thinking about this. You can speak, you know, the metaphors, you know, the stories, you know, the case studies, the examples, etc. So it's a really good opportunity right now to go and help companies who are having this kind of problem. So I am actually giving a webinar, scrolling through that. I'm giving a webinar tonight at 6 p.m. all about that. If you do want to come to that webinar, there's a link in my bio and that will allow you to sign up. It's going to be 6 p.m. It should be about an hour long. And I'll talk about shadow AI and a bunch of other topics and why you're in a really good position to go and help companies with this, which is at the moment very profitable. Yeah. So as I said, the most I've got paid is $4,000 for 1 hour of work, which was more than I used to make in a month. So I highly recommend it. If you have the AI experience and the industry experience, you can do very well. So I'm going to finish up with this live. They are going to be clips and videos of it all available on YouTube. Still growing the YouTube. Please go and subscribe. It really helps us. Let me have a look. Where are we in terms of subscribers? I check this every day. Okay, we're nearly at 3,000 subscribers. So any help you can give there would be much appreciated. We clip the lives into individual videos and short videos which go on the various social media channels. And there's also a newsletter which comes out every single day, which has a written summary of what's being discussed on the day, as well as direct links to the videos. So if you need a more concise version, that's going to be the place to get it. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. For those of you who are coming to the webinar tonight, it's going to be 6 p.m. It'll be a 1 hour long. You can find the link in my bio. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning for my next live. Thank you, everybody.